Hello, Old Gold Tech fans.
Hello.
Now, welcome to our first couch session. And today we're going to be looking at home user PCs. Now, this isn't scripted. This is just memories from the past.
Oh,
and just talking about the kit that was available on the day, without any funny jokes or anything like that. Well,
we'll try and be funny, right?
Jokes.
Well, maybe. Each time we do a main topic, we will bring out one of these couch sessions to have a little bit of an informal chat about, well, the topics of the day. Next show after this is obviously going to be the iPod.
And I must say, that is a corker of a show.
It is, lots of fun stuff in there, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so do you want to kick off with your beast?
Right, first of all, the main thing that we were looking at this week was two home user PCs.
Yep.
We focused in on these two. We got the Spectrum Sinclair ZX.
Oh yes, 48K.
48K, and we had the Commodore
madness.
64, the Beige Beast, which does actually have yellowy keys, which is a bit off-putting.
It's lovely.
It's just
very
aged like
nice.
a fine
It's lovely.
wine,
It's great.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But one of the main interesting comparisons between these two, if you've been paying attention during the show, is that that has a much more powerful processor than this.
Yes, I know. And that's just ridiculous when you think about it, because this, I think, had much better graphics, better sound, yet this was more powerful.
I mean, why could that be? I mean, this.
Just the chip, basically.
You look at size matters, doesn't it? When you look at something.
Yeah.
And with this, you think it's a big beast. It looks more like a PC of today.
Yeah.
Surely powerfuler. But that was small and mighty.
I know. I think the problem with this was, though, that even though it was better in terms of performance and had more power, I don't think they just really had enough oomph with graphics and sound, because they looked, if you put them side by side, the two games side by side, they just didn't look anywhere near as good as the Commodore, did it?
I think maybe when they brought that out, it wasn't necessarily for games, it was literally for people that wanted to explore. Oh, hello.
Funny you mentioned that.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Now, I'm going to show you some bits from this later, but in the ZX Spectrum User's Guide, it's actually all aimed at programming. It talks about all the peripheries you can have, all the micro drives you used to be able to have. I never knew you could have all this stuff. It's amazing. Micro drives, printers connected, 2 joysticks, special connectors, all kinds of stuff. But it's all aimed at making your own programs, writing in BASIC, and even talks about machine code at the back. Ooh, and a glossary. Yeah, so I think you're right. I think this was more like games orientated. This was probably aimed at sort of a bit of programming, but lots of games came out for this.
Well, there's one specific element of this home user PC which was made for games, and this was the later revision which came out, so it was version 2.
You have the posh version, don't you?
It's a posh version.
Yeah.
Now, it came with, well, this one came with a cartridge, and it had a cartridge slot, so in a sense it was almost the birth of the cartridge being used. Apart from consoles like the Atari 2600, which were out at the same sort of time, well, a few years before. So yeah, this just popped in the top. No loading time, nothing. Straight up.
Instant, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 10 seconds. But
yeah, but not
fast.
like, yo, God, compared to the tapes.
But slam that in. You had 4 games on there. I added the ones like Outrun and Terminator and stuff like that. But this one was good because it had Flimbo's Quest on, which was a killer game, which I never finished.
Never finished? Why?
Was
it too difficult?
It got too hard, yeah. And it makes me want to go back now and play it, but when you go back and play the old game, sometimes you think, oh.
Well, you don't have 3 or 4 hours for it to load, do you?
Yeah.
That's the first. So, was this like the first pass at anti-piracy? You think about it, because I know a lot of people in their younger days, and we're not condoning piracy in any way, but a lot of people used to copy games.
Yeah.
Because they used to be on cassette, so they're just audio at the time, so you used to just copy them, and then just give them to your friends, pass them around at school, potentially, and all that kind of stuff. And then they brought these things out, which were hardware.
Very, very simple hardware, yeah. If you just crack that one open. That is literally what we're talking about. This small chip here that has 4 games on it.
4 games? Oh, right,
4
I didn't
games
know.
in there,
so I didn't realise.
And that's the housing for it, and that's all it is. Now, if we take apart in shows to come, maybe a SNES cartridge slot, then we'll definitely a cartridge. Then we can investigate what's in there. But 4 games on there, and I've got to be honest, Flimbo's Quest was really good graphics. Yeah,
I think one of the other interesting points is that this was very difficult to copy. I mean, for people at school, you know, you're not going to have unless you're a genius, of course, you're not be able to sort of plug this in at home and say, right, I'm just going to copy all the code and make my new chip. So I think but these were more expensive. So you're paying for 4 games in one. So what was the price comparison? Like 70% more or something?
Well, I was quite lucky because when I got my Commodore 64, went over to my nan's for Christmas Day.
Oh yes.
And my auntie gave me a bin bag full of C64 games.
Was she a collector? Was she a secret closet player?
I have no
What
idea.
was
I don't know if she
what
went
was
round the streets like a tin can collector and picked them up off the floor, but I got a whole bag full of C64 games, Quasimodo, PC-Fuzz, so I inherited all these tapes and spent most of that Christmas just going through them, pressing play and seeing what they were like.
She wasn't a techno bag lady then?
No, the worst one was A View to a Kill, James Bond, which was the worst put together game I've ever seen. It was
Probably
terrible.
Based on the worst film ever made, right?
Yeah, the best games
Don't
were...
know the theme tune?
No. No.
Okay.
View to a Kill. The best game on this, alongside Flimbo's Quest, were definitely things like Dizzy Down the Rapids, the Dizzy series from Codemasters in UK. Also, massive respect goes out to the people that made Bubble Bobble Rainbow Islands, which was Tato, and the Crazy New Zealand Story, because those were just epic games, and you can get them on emulators now. So if you've never played those, highly addictive. You can get them on emulators, get 2 people round, and just play them because they're so good.
So you can put them on the PC,
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff. And I think we mentioned in the show, but we're going to put a little graphic down here to show you where to actually go and find these emulators. Same for this little device here. Lots of emulators out there as well. My favourite of all time, I think, said in the show, Manic Miner, one of my favourite games. Night Law as well was a classic. But Manic Miner, I think, was one of the first sort of mainstream platform games on Jet Set Willy, and I can't remember what came first now. Jet Set Willy and Manic Miner. I think Manic Miner was first. My friend and I used to play that, and he had a Spectrum before me, and it was one of those horrible Christmas times when he got the Spectrum 48K, and I ended up getting an Amstrad stereo. You see, minutes of fun on the Amstrad, hours of fun on the Spectrum. So I used to spend most of my time around his place playing all these games, and this is where it became addictive, you know.
I had one of these. My next door neighbour had an Amiga. So I felt impotent against him.
Really?
Impotent.
With its super graphics, super sound.
Went straight round, and we used to play North versus South and Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands, but he had them on floppy disk, and they loaded instantly.
Wow.
Because,
big floppies.
Yeah, big floppies. Obviously, English humour cropping in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have the cartridge slot, but the C64 also had this slightly yellowy cassette disc as well. And what you used to do is whack in the tapes, press play on tape, and watch the counter slowly go round until...
What was the average loading time? About what? 5-10 minutes?
Some
something
games
like that?
used to have so much tape on them that you could go away and come back, and then it would be
like an
turn over
album.
tape and press play again, and then you'd have one go, and then you'd have to do it again.
Yeah, because if it crashed out, and it only had very low tolerance, didn't it? So if it skipped, or if it had a dropout on the tape, that was it.
Yep. And this one had sort of like a meter reading on it where you could mess with the... Well, you know more about this.
Azimuth alignment. Make sure that the sound was at optimum. Yeah, see, a friend of mine had one of these, and he sort of built a special device on the end. But this is like it came with one built in.
Yeah, well, this one
later model again.
This one I had to buy separately because my friend broke it.
Oh.
If you're watching this, you know who you are. Right.
We're going to find that.
Okay, then we move on to what you could plug into these bad boys. Now, they came with the classic joystick. Lovely stuff. This is a Cheetah Annihilator.
Wow, now that is a piece of history right there.
You don't see many Cheetah Annihilators.
I had a quick shot.
Well,
Kempston, quick shot.
That's your problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So you'd sit in your bedroom as a young boy with the door closed, and all you'd hear is this. Now,
well, it's a joystick, right?
It's a joystick.
Let's hope.
But you'd used to wear these out because I used to be sitting in my room innocently playing Jeff Capes' Strongman Challenge, like this.
That's a beast of a game, wasn't
Now,
it?
what you had to do with Jeff Capes' Strongman Challenge, various challenges.
Yes.
You had to walk down a cellar of a pub,
Nice.
pick up a barrel, and then shake the joystick to make him walk back up again.
Yeah, and the more furious you shook the joystick, the more intensely he would run up the steps. I used to have a game as well, playing on the Commodore 64, which was summer games and winter games, or all those sort of challenges.
Games.
Well, exactly. You're just running all the time. You used to break these joysticks.
The amount of joysticks they must have sold.
Because they were rubbish though, because the posh joysticks later years came with these little micro switches, and they were just really posh but really expensive. But you, with your Commodore 64, had 2 slots to plug your joystick into.
I could have a friend round for tea and spaghetti hoops and play games as well. You couldn't.
We didn't have any connectors on the Spectrum. The problem was that with the Spectrum, you had this expansion port on the back, and it was so dodgy that if you were just to catch it by accident in the middle of a game, it would short circuit the board, reset the spectrum, you have to start all over again. So we had one of these very nice little plug-in cartridges, and you used to get all different ones. I could only afford a single one, so I had to play with myself a lot in my bedroom. Thank you very much. And we used to plug it in, slap bang, into the back, and that was it. And it was just terrible because, as I said, you know, you move them, it would break and everything. Now you had 2 slots in yours, which was really easy. Yeah.
Yep, it was cool.
No problem.
Just get someone around. You always had to get someone to bring their joystick though.
Well, yeah, because nobody was posh enough to have 2 joysticks.
Or you'd have one that half worked and then one that did work.
So you give that to your friend and then you'd have a challenge.
If you want to come around, you can have that one.
Yeah.
But I find what really interesting about that Sinclair ZX manual is the fact that someone out there, and this might be something that you want to actually sort of tell us about, had all those adages, had all those auxiliary things, like
loads of stuff,
drives and stuff. And whenever I was a kid, you'd read manuals and you'd think, oh, where'd you get these extra bits from? And sometimes they weren't available in certain countries or whatever. But someone out there must have a Sinclair with all the gubbins attached to it.
We'd like to know who you are, and if you've got any photographs, send them in, because I've never seen any of this stuff in the flesh. I used to get magazines the same, and when Sinclair brought out another model, which was the QL, Quantum Leap, 128K, that's what it used to sound for, yeah.
Did it jump through time?
It did. It actually went through time, as the programme dictated. They used to come with built-in microdrives. So they took it one step further. And these microdrives were like still magnetic media and a really small version of a 3.5-inch floppy, if anybody remembers those, which nobody probably does.
I haven't got one of those.
Okay, let's talk about some of the games then, shall we?
Games, as I said before, they range from the ultimate games like Rainbow Island, made by Taito, Flimbo's Quest. I'm not sure what the production company was for Flimbo's Quest. It was a big red ball. You can research that one, but if you want the emulator, get that one. And then we had weird ones like PC-Fuzz, was sort of like carry-on games, like carry-on movies that we have in the UK. It was like, oh, there's a cheeky robber. Here's an English Bobby, and he's going to smack him on the head with his truncheon.
Nice.
But this Bobby's on a unicycle. Now, those of you watching around the world, that doesn't happen.
No, well, not here anyway.
No, it might happen somewhere else, but we have diesel police cars that can't go very fast and don't catch anyone.
Ooh, controversial there.
Right, yeah, so you had this, and then you had the cartridges, obviously. Some of the game titles now, you couldn't imagine them coming out, could you? PC-First for PS3.
Oh, and what was the other one? Attack of the Mutant Camels.
Attack of the Mutant Camels. A camel has become huge. It's a mutant camel, and it's now attacking a planet, and you've got to take it down. You couldn't. You
probably get laughed out of the.
There either was a lot of drugs going around at that time, or it was just free for all, and everyone could just go, I've got an idea for a game. I'm going to go and make it now.
But there were like reasonable racing games.
Yeah.
There's quite a few out for the Spectrum. There was, and also even like there are today, where feature films come out and games are made. I remember playing Rambo.
Oh yeah.
Rambo on the Commodore as well, and we spoke about this in the show. You know, a lot of the music was made by Rob Hubbard, particularly for the Commodore 64, and that was just fantastic stuff. And now I think you get a bit spoilt with games, don't you? Because the music's such high quality. It's all DVD sound, but it's a bit different.
Well, I mean, if you take this game for example, PC-First, program by J. Gammon, music by D. Dunn.
D. Dunn.
Yes, the word gammon is funny.
Yeah.
And this was 1984 Anirog Software.
1984.
So that was 2 people.
That was it.
So you could go to your mate's house. Would they have programmed it on one of those, or would they have had to write it specifically for?
I don't know. They were all compilers, weren't they? So they made this. They created something in a compiler, and then it compiled it into machine code. So who knows whether they did it on this?
I mean, this is like just 2 people just writing a game.
Like you do in your bedroom, or what?
Yeah, and then that just went out. As opposed now you got the big houses and stuff that look after all that sort of stuff and just keep flushing out games.
But it takes years to produce games now with all the intensive graphics. But these guys were probably just pushing out games as quickly as they could, because the 2 main contenders, I think, back in the 80s when we had these, were the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum, because these were the biggest selling ones at the time. And then later models like, didn't you have a 128K version of the Commodore? There was no 128K.
There was the one that preceded this without the cartridge slot, yeah.
And then it was the Amiga.
Yeah,
that was right. That was the Amiga, and then because Spectrum sort of died a death, didn't they? After a while.
Yeah, because you had the Amiga and then the Atari ST.
Yeah, and then that's when sort of music started coming in, wasn't it, with the Atari?
Yep.
But the Commodore was around for many years, and there's a revival going on at the moment anyway with the Commodore 64. There's lots of apps and games and all things coming out for the Commodore 64.
Not too many good ones at the moment, though.
Not yet, no. I don't know whether they're ever going to get in production and make another one again, but they're competing with the likes of the PlayStation and Xbox.
It's a closed market, isn't it, really? You'd have to think of something absolutely genius.
But that's why here at Old Gold Tech we love this old technology, because it's great to just go back and remember where tech came from. Because if these hadn't happened, I'm not sure where we would be right now, particularly with the home computing market, with the game consoles and stuff.
Yep, it is, 1984,
yeah,
PC-Fuzz was made.
Yeah.
Look where we are now.
I know.
For those of you that are really young, these are ancient pieces of
1982 was when this came out.
And now look what you've got sitting next to your TV at home. A glorious, either nice glossy ultimate PS3 or a Xbox.
And that's it.
Yeah. And also, obviously, these pave the way for people that were into coding and such like that, have moved on to extreme rigs and stuff like that. So people that overclock and stuff like that and use water cooling systems and all these little things to get a bit more out of their processors and stuff. Now, I think there is a guy, I'm sure there is, that's he might have done something with a processor on a Spectrum, but I'm not too sure, so that might be something that you want to go and check out.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's taken a very low spec CPU and then boosted it right up.
I'm sure in the day that people have just gone back to basics and sort of tried to get the most out of the Spectrum. And we'll have a look anyway, and if there's anything comes up, we can post that on our Facebook site, which is incidentally where you can get to us these days.
So please, this is the second show, the couch session. So we hope to see you sort of in the next, hope to see you posting on Facebook. We want you to tell us about things like this. We want to start a community for this sort of stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
There are many out there, lots of Spectrums, C64, anything that you can think of, there's communities. But what we want to do is bring those together. And if we can sort of start a Commodore C64 versus Spectrum Facebook group or something like that within OGT, then we will. So please get in contact with us, because we feed off your feedback.
We know there's people out there, particularly with Spectrums, and you may want to be keeping it quiet because you may be embarrassed to bring this out, but we don't care, you see. We love these machines, we know where we came from in terms of technology and stuff. But as Nick said, you can get to us on Facebook. The logo is down here, tell you where the Facebook page is. You can also find us on Twitter, which is Old Gold Tech, and we'll be regular posting bits and pieces and snippets, photographs of sort of bits and pieces behind the scenes of the show. We'll post them on our Facebook site as well, so you can get in contact with us on the website. Everything's on there, which is oldgoldtech.com. So I hope you've enjoyed this second show. Come back in a month's time when you'll see the show 3. We've got some special stuff in that one. It's all about iPods, all about Walkmans, all about sort of the way we use and listen to music, and there's some funny stuff in there.
Yep,
so,
the show, I guarantee you to subscribe to this podcast, because show 2 or show 3 on MP3 players is way worth the watch.
A little bit of fun stuff there.
Right, let's let them get away and have their dinners, or ride their BMXs, or go and do whatever you want.
Find their Spectrums
or go
or whatever.
Those off eBay and mess with it. So this is Nick from OGT saying goodbye.
And this is Neil from OGT saying ta-ra. See you next time.